Today's episode of The Bottom Line is brought to you by First Bank.
Jim, you and I both remember when the Republican Party was the party of fiscal responsibilities. They were all about criticizing the deficit being too high, trying to bring it down, balance the budget, all these things. That's all gone out the window. They've given up on that. They're passing the resolution that's going to lead to tax cuts will allow the tax cuts to inflate the deficit by $1.5 trillion over the next decade.
That is trillion with a T, a lot of money. And where's the Tea Party when we need them, for crying out loud? Back in 8 years ago, in the midst of the recession, when we had all the bailouts and the stimulus package, they were saying, "Look at your deficit! Oh my God, our children cannot pay this." 1.5 trillion? The heck with it.
Well, there are some independent analyses that say, looked at the provisions they've given us, without much detail, and said the impact could be even more.
Well, and that is if they do the irresponsible thing, which is cut tax rates without cutting spending. And of course, you're not going to cut spending by 1.5 trillion. You'd have to hit Social Security and Medicare if you did that. If the other way to do it would be to get rid of all the deductions, things like charitable deductions, things like state and local taxes, which some people are thinking of doing, and they're getting terrible pushback.
Oh, of course, the lobbyists always push back on special interest deductions. It looks like the only one that they're really emphasizing that they're going to try to keep in there is eliminating the deduction for state and local taxes. And of course, Republicans from high tax states like New York and New Jersey are against that.
And California, where they elect Democrats, but
they don't have many Republicans.
They're not going to get any Democrats votes anyway.
And then another question is who does this benefit? And all the independent analyses that I've seen, it says it's very tilted toward the 1%, the super rich.
Yeah, and it's difficult to do these analyses because they come out with, these are going to be the brackets, but they don't say at which income you would start paying those brackets. So you just basically have to guess. They've put out half a plan, a third of a plan, less than half a plan. So, and the lobbyists are, of course, in there to save every deduction, especially the corporate deductions.
Well, yeah, the corporate deduction, the corporate tax cut is the centerpiece of the whole thing. And the White House has put out a paper saying that this corporate tax cut would increase the average household income by at least $4,000, maybe $9,000, because we would, companies would start hiring more, workers would get raises because of the tax rate.
Look at your own experience as an employee. When profits went up at the company, did you get a raise? You think no, the profits go to the shareholders. I mean, maybe the CEO got a raise,
right?
But the idea of a corporation is to keep its profits up by keeping its wages as low as possible while still getting the labor it needs.
Sure, and most work on corporate tax cuts shows that the benefits primarily go to the shareholders.
Sure.
And a little bit to the employees, but primarily to the shareholders. And we've got experience in this. In 1986, we cut the corporate tax rate. I think it used to be 46% down to 35%.
Yeah.
And wages didn't go up.
Well, one of the arguments that you get is that if you cut the corporate tax rate, then investing in plants and equipment in America becomes more, becomes more profitable. Therefore, if you invest more in America, you build more plant and equipment, you're going to hire more people, and they'll make more money. And there's something to that. I'm not sure that it's as powerful an engine as the Republicans would say, but there's something there.
Oh yeah, no, I think there is. I think there's a lot to be said for cutting the corporate tax rate. Our rate is the highest in the developed world.
At 35%.
Yeah, 35%, and 20% would be 20 to 25% would be more in the mix of what competing nations have. It's an important move, but you should pay for it by getting rid of loopholes and deductions
and because of all the loopholes that are in the corporate tax, it's hardly any company pays 35%. I mean, the effective tax rate is 20 or something anyway.
But it's certainly full employment time for all the lobbyists in Washington. They're fighting over every line in that tax code.
Big profits for them.
First Bank Wisdom. You don't have to be around for a century to know what counts, but it helps. Let's look ahead.